The question was about Candace Owens. I think her behavior during this has been disgraceful. Without a doubt. I think it's
Guys, I'm going to be honest with you because everybody's noticing it. Every single political commentator in America, every single one of them knows this, that if you do not step out and say things that are radically pro-Israel, or if you are too quiet on certain narratives and they want you to be radically pro-Israel, you can lose everything. That's truth. That is a fact. I'm not feeling like I need to hide from that anymore or be afraid to say it, rather, is a better way to say it, because I've endured this for years. I'm just at the end of my rope. I have given so much rope here and I am just done with it.
Like, I know conservatives are not interested in canceling other conservatives and they're not going to go along with this. If you're on the left, you probably will be canceled because your own crowd is going to flee from you screaming and running for the hills with their hair on fire the minute that you are called out as anything approaching a race.
What's going on, everybody? God bless you. Thank you for being here. Today, we're going to talk about Candace Owens is out at the Daily Wire. Did she get fired? Did she leave? Was it a combination of both? Where is she going? Why? What do I think? And also, I'm going to share some of my own experiences with conservative media even further, because I've talked about it a little bit, but I'm going to go even more into depth on how real the blacklisting is and how crazy it gets and how they do something called guilt by association. And they start smearing your character behind the scenes at first if they think that you know somebody that they don't like, or that somebody that they don't like shared your post and you don't even know. It's really real. I've talked about it for years. This is going to be more attention and spotlight to this topic than it has been in a long time. And I have a lot to say about it. I'm going to be honest. I had an Instagram post about this before I start the theme song, and it had 800 comments, 10,000 likes in an hour or two. I mean, it was blowing up, and I deleted it. I didn't get censored. I didn't get scared, but I was just, it's like so many people arguing, and I'm not trying to argue. I'm not trying to bring bad vibes. I'm not doing this for attention. I mean, I could have got like 1 million views on that post alone. I want to explain myself because I know text-based and so many things get misconstrued. I saw a lot of people saying stuff in the comments that was just completely false, and we got to just set the record straight and be honest. So Dream Rare Podcast starts now. Thumbs up in the comments if everything sounds good. Thank you for being here. I'm not going to read comments until the end because I really want to focus on what I'm saying and be honest and be accurate, because, you know, I don't want to get distracted by the comments. So I'm going to look now, Dream Rare Podcast, and I'm going to get it going.
It's the Dream Rare Podcast. Welcome to the show. The way to get the news at the desk or on the road. Let's go. God is great and success in our control. The world is crazy, but we get better from obstacles. Yeah.
What's going on, everybody? Looks good. Appreciate you guys. Let's see who we got. Kelly on Facebook, Sean on Facebook, Phaedra on YouTube, Paul on Facebook. He said we need an Anomaly and Candace channel. Interesting. Christina on YouTube. Remember something? I don't see the name. All right, let's get into it. So I don't know whether she got fired. I don't know whether she left. I don't know if it was a combination of both. But what I do know is that something was going to happen, because the things that she was saying are not compatible with Daily Wire and the people who own it. Ben Shapiro, I don't know that he's like the full owner, but I think Jeremy Boring's the owner or whatever. And she was straying not just from their foreign policy, but also the foreign policy leaks into domestic policy. And I want to, perhaps before I really go in on this topic, because I have a lot to say, I want to talk about my personal experiences, because in the video, and this is a different thing. I know people are probably like, you've told us a bunch of times. This story, I don't think I've told many times, definitely not in a couple of years. So it's going to be different this time. She mentioned that everybody in conservative media is afraid. They're afraid to talk about this. They're afraid to stray from the course of the Israel narrative that they're fed. And everybody's nervous to like say anything. Even if you're pro-Israel, like people are nervous. Is that true? I believe it's true. I mean, some people, they don't have to be nervous because they're in on it, or they perceive things that way, or they disagree. But absolutely, there are probably dozens of people that work at the major media corporations like Blaze TV, Daily Wire, Fox News, and others. Not everybody. I mean, some people enjoy their job. Some people find value in it and they don't care about that stuff. But, you know, I know for a fact that a lot of people absolutely, they know there's certain lines that you can't cross. With Candace Owens, she's always been feisty, right? She says things about black people. Daily Wire's cool with it. Ben Shapiro doesn't care. She says things about trans, LGBT, you know, white, like everything. Chris, Ukraine, but then it's like Israel and anything like Jewish related. It's like, like everybody know. I'm just being honest. Like everyone knows it's like, nah, the second you say it, even if you're like, you almost have to go on the like defend, which Candace doesn't do. She's always like an attack dog on everything, which is personally not my energy on everything that I do. That's why I didn't want, it's not that I'm like distancing myself, but I'm myself. I'm not responsible for everything she's done and she said. Perhaps let's start here, okay? Because this is the number one problem that I see. Obviously, left-wing media sucks. For those people that are slow in the head, it's like, oh, left-wing media sucks. We know. Democrat media sucks. Left-wingers suck. Biden sucks. Everybody talks about that all the time. But what you don't know is how controlled Republican media is and how they do the same exact tactics as the left. And it's not just the people that you think are against Trump, like Mitt Romney. It's even the people that you look up to that you think are on your side. So let's start with the guilt by association, right? In 2018 or 2019, I was rising the ranks of conservative media, right? I had over 1 million followers on Facebook. I had hundreds of millions of views. I made a video saying why I think Trump is not that bad. It got like 40 million views. Like I was blowing up. In fact, I would even help other people blow up if I found talented people and I thought that their video was good. I was like a huge part of the conservative media ecosystem independently, just because I had such huge social media following. And I started getting invited to events. I started getting asked to go on podcasts because it's like, oh, this long-haired liberal hippie is conservative. Or, they had that angle for me, like, oh, he wasn't always right-wing. Oh, he can explain this better than we can. Oh, he's not so like, MAGA, but he can explain the MAGA talking points. So I was like getting invited to Trump events. I got invited to the White House with the Hispanic Republicans. I went on Andrew Klavan's podcast. I'm not trying to act like I'm so special. I'm just saying like they liked me. They were inviting me places. I got invited to the White House. I got invited to a politician event at a Trump, resort or whatever. And it's like, I was like, everybody was cool with me. Like the Anomaly's the man. And then something changed. And, I had a friend, I'm not going to say who, but somebody that lived in the same city as me that I wouldn't consider myself best friends with or anything, but we spoke, we hung out, we met at certain places because we have mutual friends. And they started telling me, they said, Anomaly. And keep in mind, in 2019, I was super chill. I was even like more calm than I am now. I was like very soft spoken. I never said anything negative. I never said anything bad about Charlie Kirk. Even when I talked about liberals, I wasn't bad mouthing them. Like if you looked at a video of me, Ben Shapiro, Charlie Kirk, Donald Trump, just to name everybody in the Republican Party, you wouldn't look at Anomaly and be like, he's the craziest one. You'd probably look at me and be like, oh, he's like the chillest one. That's why my videos were getting so far spread, because my approach was so different from Ben Shapiro and different from Charlie Kirk. It was more effective in my view, and it was waking up liberals because I wasn't just screaming at red-haired conservatives or blue-haired conservatives on college campuses, which in my opinion, now that I think about it, I believe that they're doing this divide and conquer, just like black versus white, red versus blue. Yes, there are differences between the politics, but this like yelling at the left all the time, I don't think it's to wake up the left or make people, I think it's to get everyone so scrambled that you never could figure out what I'm about to say. So my buddy hits me up. He works for Blaze TV, right? Not going to say who it is. I'm not going to say everybody. There's cool people at Blaze TV. I'm sure they've done great work. In some cases, I don't really watch anybody on Blaze TV. I'm not like a super fan or anything. So I have really no idea what they're doing. I know Alex Stein now works there, and Chad Prager, I think, works there at some point, and I've always been cool with him. It's not either of those people, but I like Chad and I like Alex, and I have nothing really bad to say about Blaze TV because I don't even know who's talking shit about me. But anyway, one of my buddies who worked at Blaze TV, he hit me up and he said, Anomaly, all my coworkers are like spreading rumors about you. And I told him, I'm like, bro, I don't care. I'm not a girl. I'm not in high school. Like people could talk shit. That's what humans do. I don't care. I'm not about the drama. Like everybody has an opinion. And he goes, no. They're calling you like far right. And at the time, like I just registered as a Republican, I think. Like I wasn't like born and raised like MAGA. I just was like realizing conservatism. And, I thought that Trump was like a moderate guy. And I wasn't even as conservative as I am now then. So I was trying to figure out, I'm like, why are they calling me far right? Like, what did I do? I'm so chill. I'm so much chiller than Charlie Kirk. I'm so much nicer than Ben Shapiro. Like, why am I far right? I'm like, and it started kind of annoying me because I was like, why would they say that? And he's like, well, they're telling everybody not to work with you. They're telling everybody not to talk to you. They're saying you're too far right. You're too far gone, and you're really bad. You're like the bad part of the right wing. And I was like, what the hell? Why? I couldn't figure it out. And he's like, oh, it's because you talk about the anti-Semitism speech laws. And I'm like, have you seen my videos on it? Because no one was talking about it at the time. I like the First Amendment, like every Republican pretends to. And I realized that Trump passed an executive order, which was to stop boycotts and protests and divestment from Israel. And then also he passed this set of like 10 or 11 anti-Semitism speech rules into legislation through executive order. And then Ron DeSantis passed it in Florida, right? Now, let me explain, because the straw man that everybody uses, I'm going to try to be calm and well-spoken, because it's like the Instagram was just scrambling my mind. Everyone was yelling, and I was like, let me just explain myself, and then you could think what you want. I'm against violence. I'm against calls to violence. I'm not for any of that. That's all evil. I don't care, Christian, Muslim, Jew, black, white. I'm not a demon, so I don't like any of that stuff. I'm talking about peaceful conversation. I'm talking about opinions. These are protected by the First Amendment. I don't believe in that type of evil. So people will say, well, those anti-Semitism speech laws, those are just for violence. That's not true. That's the straw man. Everyone believes that because those are the lines that you're fed from conservative media. But if you read the rules, it goes far beyond violence. 10 out of 11 of them are just words. They say, it doesn't just say, oh, if you do this, you're bad. It's like, yeah, we all know that. And that's a crime. A crime is a crime. You can't do that stuff. And it should be illegal because violence is evil, and political, racial, social, like all that, I'm totally against. Now, when you actually read the anti-Semitism speech laws that Trump and DeSantis passed through law, it doesn't say that, but nobody knows it doesn't say that because Ben Shapiro, Dave Rubin, TPUSA, Fox News, they never tell you. In fact, not only do they not tell you what it really says, they smear everybody behind the scenes to not let anybody on their podcast that explains that. So when people said to me for years, oh, you're just jealous of Ben Shapiro, this and that, I never spoke a negative word about Ben Shapiro. I never spoke a negative word about Charlie Kirk. I believe in what comes around goes around. So I like to be very precise with my words, and I don't like to, let me rephrase that. I like to treat others the way I want to be treated. So I think about all these things. The only time I started talking bad about Ben Shapiro or Charlie Kirk was when I realized they were gatekeeping these hate speech laws that were being passed into legislation by Republicans to infringe on the First Amendment. And I do believe at one point, the Supreme Court is going to strike them down, just like they're going to strike down the bump stock ban. They might not, but I think they should, because they're hate speech rules. It doesn't say you can't hurt somebody. It says you can't criticize Israel more than you criticize another democratic nation. Who defines what's a democratic nation? Because liberals say Trump's a fascist, and they say that Russia's fascist and Ukraine's a democracy, yet they don't have an election. Who gets to define what democracy is? Because the media lies, left-wingers lie, most of the Republican Party lies. They just printed $1.2 trillion. God knows where they put that. So who even defines how much you can criticize what? That's crazy. Then one of the speech laws says you can't say that any Jews in America are more loyal or equally loyal to Israel, which is crazy because if you listen to the conversation that Candace had with Rabbi Barclay, or you listen to Ben Shapiro, it's blatantly obvious that Ben Shapiro loves Israel, which is totally fine. But why would they pass a speech law? And I'm talking about Republicans. And let me be clear. I'm not blaming all Jewish people. I never would. I'm not saying it's all Israelis. I think most Israelis are good people. I'm not blaming anybody. And to be honest, a lot of the politicians passing this through legislation are Christians. So I'm not pointing the blame at one group or not. I would say Christian politicians are pushing it more, like DeSantis and Trump, so-called Catholics and Christians. I don't even know what to believe anymore, but they claim to be. So I'm not blaming. It's just what it is. So it's like, you can't say that Ben Shapiro has loyalty to Israel, even though his entire show is him explaining why he has loyalty to Israel and why you should too. But then these speech laws are being passed that say that you can't say that. You can't say certain biblical things. Like it's like, I'm like, what the hell? Like I thought, and this is, I'm a naive younger person. I'm like, I thought Republicans, the whole reason I like Trump and Charlie Kirk and TPUSA and all these things is because I thought we were for free speech. I thought like we were the good guys. And I realized it was all fake. And the second I realized it's fake, I was never anti-Israel. I'm still not. I was like, I was just like, I didn't really know much about Russia or Israel. I'm American, so I didn't have like a huge stance because I was never told to feel this way or that way. I have no allegiance to Palestine. Like I wasn't like a left-wing activist or whatever or Muslim. I was just like, I don't believe in speech laws for one race, one religion, and one country. It's reasonable, right? Why would they pass religious laws in Florida for only one religion? Why would those religion laws include non-religious people? Like, it doesn't make any sense, and it's against the Constitution. So I just firmly said, I said, it says nothing negative. Like, all I could say, like, I was always just complimenting Israel all the time, and I was just like, I just don't like these speech laws. The second I did that, my friend told me, they're saying you're far right at Blaze TV. I don't know who was saying that. I don't give a shit, to be honest, but I just know that my friend who worked there told me that they're basically trying to blacklist you and telling everybody not to work with you, not to do stuff with you. So then this person says to me, I'm not going to do you like that. Let's do a podcast, right? With someone else. Not going to say who. So we do a podcast, right? And he's treating me weird in the podcast. He's like calling me names. He's trying to like relate me to people that I don't know. And I kind of flipped out at him, right? So I yelled at him. I said, I don't want to say the F word, but I said, F you, you're a scumbag. Like, whatever. I raged at him because I was just like, it was like a setup. It felt like a setup. If he wasn't setting me up purposely, it felt like one. So I didn't like the vibes of it at all. And I was like, why are you trying to, like, because he introduced me as like this far right, this and that. And I'm like, what the dude, what the hell? Like, this is crazy. So then he's like, no, I'm sorry. That was my bad, whatever. So he goes, let's redo it again. I said, no, bro, I don't want to do the podcast with you anymore. And we went and got a coffee, and he's like, please, dude, I really want your message to be heard. I think you're being honest about this. So like, let's redo the podcast. I was like, all right, fine. So convinced me to redo it. And the whole time I was explaining these anti-Semitism speech laws, I was like, listen, it's totally hypocritical of PragerU and Turning Point and Daily Wire to say that cancel culture, you know, like, we all stood with Ben Shapiro. They said Ben Shapiro's words were violence. I said, no, they're not. Ben has said some messed up stuff about Arabs and Palestinians, but, you know, that's his opinion. I mean, I don't have to justify it, but it's like, I don't want to cancel Ben Shapiro at a college campus. I stood with him. I stood with Dave Rubin. I said, no, let him speak, disagree with him, call him a liar, but don't take his voice away. I stood with all of them. And I just explained, I think at the time there was this new documentary coming out, like a PragerU psyop. I mean, documentary with like Adam Carolla or whatever it's called, like No Safe Spaces, about cancel culture and the left. And I said, how could it possibly be more hypocritical that Prager's releasing a No Safe Spaces documentary about cancel culture while he's engaging in cancel culture, and while all these Republicans are justifying these hate speech laws and these anti-protest laws? I'm not a protester of a country, but it's like, why are we passing protest laws for a foreign country? You could protest America in America. You could protest Republicans, but you can't protest a foreign country. I just don't think it's constitutional. And I think it only makes more people want to do it. So I don't understand it. But like, I said it on the podcast, and I said, you know, this is crazy that it's happening. And then he goes to an ad break, and he says, you know, one of the advertisements and sponsors was PragerU's new documentary. So that was one of the people he was getting money from for the sponsor. The podcast went great. I fully explained myself. I really explained exactly what I was talking about. I was clear. I was concise. I wasn't angry. It made total sense. They all said I was right. And then they shelved the podcast. They never put it out. It never aired. And I believe it didn't air because I was going against their sponsor. I said the truth, and their sponsor was doing this fake cancel culture thing while they were engaging in cancel culture. So all the things that people are like, oh, Dave Rubin's doing this, I've seen it since 2019. I'm not a jealous or envious person. I don't want to be someone else. I'm very low key. Like, you know, I'm not like one of these like Jeff Bezos types where it's like, I need like a $20 billion. Like, you know what I'm saying? Give me a soccer ball, give me a beach. I'm chilling. Like, I don't, you know, and the ability to do what I love, that's amazing. But either way, it's not like that serious to me. So I was just like, okay, so now I'm blacklisted from this entire media organization, essentially, not completely, but they badmouth me. They're telling everybody I'm far right when I'm nicer to them. They're shelving my podcast. They're mislabeling me. This was in 2019. So I got the message, and I figured it out right then. And I have tweets that have been brought up like retroactively to try to make me look bad. And if I said it, I meant it. You know, I'll apologize when I'm wrong. I'm not going to apologize when I'm right. And that's the problem with this world, is everybody's afraid to do the right thing. That's why the world's so evil. There's no one to blame. There's no group to blame. There's no religion to blame. I'm not sitting here saying blame that country or blame that group. Blame yourself. Because when a bunch of so-called Christians and when a bunch of so-called Americans that came to this country for a better life, whether you're Christian, Muslim, Jewish, atheist, whatever, you know, and you're more afraid to say the truth than you are to lie, that's a moral issue. And I've never been that person. I'm not perfect. I'm not saying my life is like amazing and I've always been flawless. It's like, obviously I've made mistakes. I sin just like everybody else, but I'm just as afraid to do the wrong thing as the right thing. Like everybody lives in this world and says, oh, I'm afraid to do the right thing. I'm afraid because they'll crack down on me. And it's like, they'll take this, they'll take that. They'll force me to do this. And it's like, okay, so you're just going to be evil your whole life. You're just going to play along to a system that you know is fake. Then you're not a victim. You're just as bad as the person telling you to do it when you comply. So I realized this about conservative media in 2019. That's the rule. You can be Ben Shapiro. You could be Dave Rubin. You could be Michael Knowles. You think Michael Knowles doesn't know that? If Michael Knowles ever came out and did half of what Candace did, he'd be axed too, because he doesn't really have that much value. He's not that popular. He's been on a major media company for how many years now, and he doesn't even have that big of a following. Nobody really cares, It's like, I'm not saying he has nothing, but it's like everybody knows the rule. I'm just being honest. It's like, and I know that everybody knows the rule because it's obvious. Either they agree with it and they're pushing it for, there's some Christians who do it religiously. There's some people who do it ethnically, and there's some people who just go along with the flow, but everybody knows that's the rule. Question the speech laws, or question foreign aid to Israel, or say anything in that topic, and your whole world's going to get a lot harder, right? So then let's fast forward a couple months, not even a couple years. I got in more trouble, and I said, why are they smearing me? Like, they weren't doing it publicly, by the way. They weren't doing it like in the press yet. They weren't like making a huge scene. But I just have friends telling me that they were doing it at all these companies. So I go, why are they lying about me now? And my friend goes, well, Nick Fuentes retweeted your tweet. And I'm like, who? Nick Fuentes retweeted your tweet. I'm like, okay. And they're like, yeah, so now they're blacklisting you and saying crazy stuff about you because he retweeted you. It's like, do they realize I have a million? Like, I'm also a hip hop artist. I have tens of millions of streams on my song. I had hundreds of millions of views. I had certain videos with 1 million views. Now I'm getting blacklisted because of guilt by association, because somebody that they don't like shared my post. What if I say I love water and he shares that? Like, it's crazy. Like, that's what they're doing. What Candace is saying is 100% accurate. It's not new. She just got tired of it. Most people, they don't get tired of it because they want the money, or they just don't care. They don't have like a strong spirit. It's not like Candace just figured this out a week ago and just started talking about it. It's been constant pressure on her career and everyone's career every second of all the time. Everybody knows if you ever say anything, your life gets a lot harder. So I was like, I just thought that was so crazy, because I was like, that because he retweeted me. This also happened in left-wing press one time too. I made a joke about St. Paddy's Day and how, like, not a joke, but I said like Irish people were oppressed too, and now they're being called privileged. And they were calling me like a white nationalist in the media. And I was like, what the hell? It was because a white nationalist page screenshotted it. And then like a senator that was a Republican that didn't know retweeted it. And now all of a sudden they're trying to call me all these names that I'm not, because I made a St. Paddy's Day joke and someone else put it on their page. It's like, do you not know what it's like to have millions of followers? Now I have 1 billion views. Like, left wingers have shared my content. Right wingers have shared my content. Fox News has shared my content. Occupy Democrats at one time shared one of my poems. Like, I don't consider it a bad thing when you could reach people that you don't even know. Like, that's not a bad thing. It's like, I hope more liberals share my content. I hope more conservatives share my content. I don't even care if communists like my content. I consider that incredible. Like, even if I disagree with your ideology and you like one thing I said, that's not a bad. I don't want to be punished for the rest of my life because a communist shared my tweet, but that's what they did to me in 2019. I don't say this because I'm jealous. I don't need anything. I'm fine. I've made a good living. I've made a business. I've saved money. I could go quit for 2 years and come back. I'm fine. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, I don't want to like go broke or anything, but I'm not desperate for anything. I'm just telling people the truth. And I've been and it's so frustrating over the years when I'm trying to explain this to my audience and nobody's listening to me. They're all like, oh, you're just hateful and jealous of Charlie Kirk. Why would I be jealous? It's not a competition. I know they're lying. I know they're covering stuff up. And I know that people behind the scenes are blocking me from getting any sort of opportunities, any podcasts, any speaking gigs, any sort of conversation. And they're elevating less impressive people that they know they can control. And sometimes, I don't want to get into the psychology of it, people that aren't impressive are easier to control because they know they don't belong there. If you could put somebody in the NBA that's not that good at basketball, he's going to do whatever he can do to stay there because he knows if that deal falls through, he'll never get back in on his own merit. That's why I'm not, I mean, there's multiple reasons I'm not controllable, but I know that I'm talented. I know I can make it on my own. I already made it on my own. And none of these losers can tell me that I can't do it because I did it and I'll continue to do it. So, they like to elevate people that aren't that impressive, that play ball. It's like an empty soul with a nice face that they can convince you are they're fighting the left or whatever. And that's the whole system. They've been doing this for years. Okay. Now I want to fast forward because this is important and I don't want to be misconstrued. And I'm not blaming everybody. I just want to be very clear because I know you have to be not only politically correct, but I want to be fair. I think there are millions of great Jews and Israelis out there. I don't think everybody's doing it. I don't think everyone's in on it. I've never said that, but anytime you talk about this, they try to like say that you mean that. It's like if I said like Black Lives Matter is working with this group and they're like, oh, you think all black people are doing it? No, but there are some groups doing it. So like, how am I supposed to talk about it without being called a name? So, the Anti-Defamation League is I would say a left-wing skewed, because Ben Shapiro will say they're a left-wing group, this and that. If you look up their Wikipedia, their page, they are an international Jewish organization. Yes, I do believe they have a left-wing skew, but their main goal, they say they're doing a lot of stuff, but it's like international Jewish protection, defamation, you know what I'm saying? Like they're looking out for Jewish people worldwide, which interestingly enough is one of the speech laws to say that you can't say that that's happening. You can't say that anybody has, the collective of Jews worldwide as their passion or something, yet it's like right on their website and Wikipedia. So it's like, I guess the truth is now illegal now because they're passing hate speech laws and anybody who talks about it gets blacklisted. Oh, this is really fun. Oh yeah, I want to be a Republican media head. It's like, it sucks. But anyway, so that's who they are. When it comes to a lot of these right wingers, they keep saying the ADL is left wing. They're left wing, they're left wing, they're left wing. And in some cases they are, but really a lot of people like Daily Wire, I'm not saying they're working directly with them, but it's like the ADL yesterday smeared Candace Owens and said that Nick Fuentes agreed with her. And then a day later, she's fired from Ben Shapiro and Jeremy Boring's Daily Wire. So this whole left-right facade is a total lie when it comes to this topic. And I've watched, libs of TikTok do it as well on Twitter. I don't mind her account. It's not like my favorite one because I don't like looking at liberals all day, but I've always respected her. And I've always thought that, she deserves a platform and shouldn't be harassed by the left. I have no problem with her. I'm sure she's a wonderful lady that if I met her, we'd get along. But it's like she's complained about the ADL because they called her like a hateful extremist or something like that. And then 2 weeks later, she's tweeting telling Jewish students in California to go report to the ADL. So it's like on one hand, the ADL is harassing you and you're saying they're such a leftist organization. And then you're telling people to go report to them. Like this is what they do all the time. They're like, oh, the ADL is not us. It's like, so you cut ties with Candace Owens a day after the ADL does the same thing that everyone's doing all the time to everyone. They try to do the guilt by association. Well, Candace won't condemn Kanye, so she's responsible for everything he said. And this person retweeted Candace, so now she's responsible for everything they said. It's just so frustrating. It's like, I don't like, what am I supposed to do? Just agree with Ben Shapiro so no one else agrees with me or something? Like it's just like exhausting, and this is the game that you have to play to live in conservative media. Because if you say anything genuine that just so happens to be picked up by someone else, then you get in trouble. They do it with David Duke all the time. It's like when David Duke agrees with Trump, the media writes, David Duke agrees with Trump. And then David Duke agrees with Ilhan Omar, and they say David Duke agrees with Ilhan Omar. It's just like exhausting. It's like this guilt by association. What if like Jamal Bowman agrees with Donald Trump once in a while? Does it mean they're exactly the same person? No, it just means that out of all the topics in the world, they seem to be aligned on one, which is what Congress does every day. It's like Trump has done deals with Pelosi and Schumer and Feinstein. It doesn't mean Trump is Feinstein. It's just like that's that topic. So that like all and this is what has bothered me since 2019. Everything Republican media says about cancel culture, it's all fake. It's all a lie. It's all a controlled op. It's all only the left does it. That's why they just constantly pump out left-wing content all the time. Look at the left, look at the left, look at the left, look at the left, look at Dylan Mulvaney, Bud Light, look at the left. That's why they do that, because if you're just looking at the left, you're like, oh, it's the right versus the left, and the right's fighting the left, when in reality, they're doing all the same things. And all the same justifications the left has to shut up Ben Shapiro and Dave Rubin are the same justifications that they're shutting up people that they disagree with and saying that they don't deserve the right to protest. A violent protest is not protected by the Constitution, and it's always going to get cracked down on, and it should. But if you say that Ben said this and that caused violence, and now Ben Shapiro can't speak on a college campus, how is that any different from the other stuff? And they go, oh, no, that's not what it is. It's only the violence. That's not what the laws say. That's what you say that they say. The anti-Semitism speech laws don't say that. There's a list of phrases that they say are hate speech, phrases, words. And that's what Republican media is. And it's been that way for a long time. And to be honest, it makes everything not fun anymore. I barely post on Instagram anymore because I don't feel like talking about everything. All these people are fake. And in some cases, I know the extent to how fake they are and how deep it goes. But I don't even feel like talking about it because most people won't even believe me. I'm not a gossiper, so I respect people, even people I disagree with. I respect their privacy and all that. And I try to be the person that I want to see in the world. But it's like, what's the point of coming out with this, getting less views, getting your audience to call you a liar and jealous, and then watching these people deceive everybody every day, all the time? I know what they're doing. I know why they're doing it. And I know how they're doing it. And I'm just tired of even like talking about it because I don't want to talk about it all the time. I don't obsess over this stuff. Like I like sports. I like obviously politics, but when both parties are doing the same exact thing, it doesn't matter anymore. And I'm going to use this example, not to bring Trump into this, but it's like if you think that Trump just made a mistake and got tricked and he's the good guy, but he didn't mean to do all the COVID stuff because he had to. That's one way of looking at it. But if you really get to the core of it and you realize that he's just doing it and he's just in on it and he's just the face that you believe, which is stopping you from figuring anything out, then, it's like you're just running in circles. So I've just been patient now. I'm like, I get that people aren't going to understand this. But just like when I talked about this in 2019, nobody cared. They called me jealous. Now everybody's going to figure it out because it's been done on a bigger scale. And it has nothing to do with hating someone or being pro or anti a certain country. I've said this for a long time, and every time I do, I get smeared in the press. And it's not just left-wing press, it's right-wing press usually doing it as well. I personally, I'm not going to speak for everybody, I personally don't have an issue with Zionism if it's done ethically. I'm not going to tell you whose land it is, and I don't want to kick anyone off any land, and I've never said that. I'm American, so before the Palestinian-Israel thing even crossed my mind, it was from a First Amendment standpoint. It doesn't mean I hate black people if I don't want them to pass George Floyd speech laws that say you can't say things. And it doesn't mean I hate a whole country or group of people if I disagree. Why does only one race, one religion, and one country get speech laws, and then anybody else who mentions it gets called hateful and blacklisted for media, and then they say you're being hateful for even say that it's happening? Doesn't seem like a really fair deal, so I'm not really about it. So, like, you get what I'm saying? It's like it has nothing to do with hating anybody. It's like that's what the Republican Party is, and every time I say this, they try to exaggerate it, but I'm going to say it again because it's true. In the Republican press, in Republican politics, it's Zionism first. You have to prioritize it over America, over the Constitution, over Christianity, over conservatism. And if you don't, they just call you anti-Semitic and you get blacklisted and kicked out of everything. First, they do it behind the scenes, then they do it out in the open. That's what's going on. It doesn't mean I'm against it. It just means that's the truth. I believe Zionism would be more popular than it is today if they could do it without doing it that way, but they don't seem to want to do it that way, and it's not just Jewish people doing it. I'm not saying there's a lot of Jewish people that disagree, and there's a lot of Christian Catholic conservatives that are doing even more of it in politics, So I'm not blaming one group because there's a lot of people doing a lot of things. It's just the truth. Like, that's what it is. I don't have a problem with it or a country or group of people. I never did. It's just like, you can't exist in Republican media unless you sell out your country, your constitution, and in some cases, your religion. You have to prioritize it second or third or fourth or fifth or sixth, or else they blacklist you, harass you, try to ruin your life, try to ruin your career, and send that message to everybody else in conservative media. Yeah, just stick to the trans stuff, stick to the gay stuff, stick to the black stuff, stick to the liberal stuff. Don't go there. It's not worth it, That's the message they're sending. Everyone knows it. Obviously, like she said, everyone knows it. Either it's like Dave Rubin and Ben Shapiro, where they're all about it, or other people that they just don't want to lose their money. And to be honest, like a lot of people, they're not like huge stars. So it's like that, everybody in media, it's not like they can afford to lose their job. And where are you going to go? Like, you going to go to a left-wing company? No, who wants to work at a left-wing company? So it's like there's not really many options out there. And I'm not faulting people, but it's like, it's better than a left-wing company. So just stay there and just don't talk about that. But then it starts getting aggressive where it's like, it reminds me of the pandemic where people cannot say certain stuff, but it doesn't necessarily mean you're not going to be in on it. Like, say it's like, oh, I don't want to talk about like, government corruption and big pharma. Okay. But when 15 days to slow the spread comes, you're in the same group. You had a safe job, but they're not letting you go to it. You had a nice job, but now they want you to get a vaccine. It's not a direct relationship, and I'm not saying that, but it's just an analogy and symbolism that kind of works, where it's the same thing in conservative media, where it's like, I personally believe you can ignore it all you want and make that money or whatever, but eventually, it's going to catch up to you because it's just the truth. Like, everything I've been saying recently, I'm not saying it to be popular, even though it is incredibly popular. When I posted what I posted on Instagram, it got 10,000 likes and 900 comments in an hour. Guys, these media organizations are signing superstars that can't even pull 500 likes and 10 comments in 24 hours. It's not like they're getting the most talented or the most popular people. They're getting people that won't cross certain lines. And that line is, you have to prioritize this over the country, this over the Constitution. And that's my issue. It's not the country or the people, none of that. It's the priorities. And that's how it is. And I believe, let me be clear about this too, because I got in trouble, just guilt by association with Candace, because, people have been going after Candace for years. And when I talked to Candace Owens on my podcast, they started going after me just for talking to Candace. You know what I'm saying? They went after Candace just for getting retweeted by somebody else. Like, the guilt by association exists in the right, and everybody needs to know it. Because if you don't, you're just as bad as a liberal. If you ignore this, you're controlled opposition and you don't even know it. You don't mean to be. You're not a bad person, but you don't even know that it's happening, and you play along with it, and you allow it to be uncalled out. And that's why it keeps happening to everybody in conservative media. It's really frustrating. And I believe, like, let me be clear, Candace and me are two different people. Who she talks about, the way she talks about it, she likes to pick fights, right? I'm not that type of person, but I'm not saying she's a bad person. I like Candace, but I don't do what she does. Like, she's saying the lady in France is a transgender. I haven't even looked into it. It's funny. But like, that's just not who I am. And I'm not saying she's wrong for it. It's just like funny. She's fighting with the Queen. She's fighting with Cardi B. I'm not a combative person. Like, I like to compete in sports, but I don't find it fun to like argue with people on the internet all the time. So I don't do that. So like, let's be clear. Like, I'm not justifying everything Candace does, not because I'm condemning it, but it's just not who I am. So I'm not trying to take the blame for everything she does, and vice versa. She shouldn't take blame for what I do, but that's the game they play. It's like this guilt by association, and they do these like weird webs the same way the left wing does it, where they're like, oh, if you voted for Trump, you're a fascist. If that person retweeted you, you're far right. And then they try to ruin your career just like the left does. And they hire people that don't tell you, so you never know. But I wanted to say this real quick. She's been fiery in 15 different categories, and they never had a problem with it. She's been who she is. She beefed with Cardi B. She said some wild things about black people. I'm not saying it's like bad, but like, that's just who she is. Firebrand, bang, 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 bang. Say what you want, but I'm not being emotional. This is just who I am. I'm gonna go hard, but I mean what I say. And everyone's like, yeah. And then the second she does the same thing with another category, it's like, okay, that's enough. So that's the whole game. It's like, it's not her aggressiveness that they really care about, or her assertiveness. That's fine. It's the topic. With that being said, I don't know. Like, I'm reading like the press on her. They're saying like Candace said something about blood, and I'm like, I don't even know what they're referring to, and I don't understand like what she said, or if they're saying she liked a tweet, or like it's getting rough out there. I don't think she really gives a shit, but like the media is ruthless, and it's not just left-wing media. The New York Post is doing it too. With that being said, like I believe that Candace broke anti-Semitism speech laws, you know, and just like they're being passed into legislation in Florida, in Georgia, in Virginia, in where's Sarah Huckabee Sanders in Arkansas, I believe, or is it Louisiana? I think it's Arkansas. You know, I think the right-wing media, they play along to those same rules. They don't talk about them, so they clearly agree with them. And if you go, if you cross that line, Ben Shapiro has tweeted one of the anti-Semitism speech laws on his Twitter. He said, if you suppose that a Jewish person's more loyal to Israel or has dual allegiance to Israel and America, that's anti-Semitism. Do you watch Ben Shapiro's show and think he has no allegiance to Israel? Isn't that like half his show is like him being like, we love Israel, I love Israel, I'm loyal to Israel, you should be loyal to Israel too. There's nothing wrong with that, in my opinion. But then you tweet that it's anti-Semitism to say that anybody likes Israel. Like, dude, it's so obviously insane, you know. And if you say these things, you know, I think Dave Rubin and Ben Shapiro and others and people like Ron DeSantis, they're like, okay, well, she crossed that line. That's anti-Semitism because we passed it into law. So, you know, I'm not saying they can like charge her for it, but I believe she is going to court over something or someone. She's always in lawsuits. Now that that's passed into law, let's see what happens. You know, that might change the whole court case. I have no idea, but it's like, if you say that, like, let me give you an example. If you say something edgy about George Floyd, they could say you're racist, but they can't sue you because the First Amendment protects you from an opinion. But if they pass a George Floyd speech law through every state that says that if you say that George Floyd's death was from fentanyl, then you're racist and like that's hate speech and, you know, could be considered a hate crime in these categories, now you might lose the court case. That's what they're doing. And it's not going to help any of my friends that are Jewish. It's not like it helps like random people. It's only going to help people that it applies to and that want to use it in the court of law, which are probably going to be like higher level people, which is whatever. I'm just saying, like, people don't even get how crazy it's getting. Because I get why no one gets it, because they don't let people on who don't talk about it. That's why I've been talking shit about Tim Pool and PBD podcast recently. PBD tried to hire me. It didn't work out. You know, God bless him. Business is business. I don't take it personally. He hires Chris Cuomo, and then it blows me off when I ask multiple times, like, we should at least have a chat. I don't think PBD podcast wants this conversation to be had. And I'll consider him another gatekeeper to hire his little guy, Adam, and then Vinny. They like fight. And then like, you know, like Chris Cuomo, it's just another controlled opposition, like cattle babble, where everybody just feeds cattle fodder to the sheeple in the Republican Party. And they think they're getting both sides of the argument. Tim Pool acts like a demonic psychopath, and he looks like the Pokemon Diglett with a beanie on. And he just like screams and yells when anybody talks about this stuff. I don't think it's random. I've been in this business long enough to know that it's not random. It's like they're playing a game, and that game is don't allow anyone on your podcast to speak the truth. And if you do, yell over them and make them look crazy. So that's why I take it a little more personally. It's not like I need attention or anything. It's just like, oh, here's another gatekeeper who comes out of nowhere 2 years ago, does the same thing that every Republican media does, and tries to, you know, cover up the fact that Republicans are selling out the First Amendment. When have you ever heard that on these podcasts? They don't talk about it because they don't care. And they actively cover it up, it seems like, in many ways, because they don't want people to know. And then they badmouth anybody who knows this. They try to find any way to smear you. You said this, you talked to this person, this person, this person. It's so hateful. It's so hateful. Oh my gosh, you're so hateful. That's all that's happening everywhere. You know, it's a blatant violation of the First Amendment that they're passing through law. And Republican media exists to cover it up. You know, I'll say a few more things, then maybe I'll read the comments. I don't really know if I should, because there's probably not much good going on there. I'm not saying you're all bad people. I appreciate you watching, but I don't like talking about war. Like I don't talk about the Russia-Ukraine war that much. Why? Is it because I'm trying to cover it up? No, it's just a dark topic. People are dying. Both sides are emotional. Both sides are fighting. And it freaking sucks. I'm not a war analyst. I mean, I analyze wars, but I don't want to talk about it every day. It's not fun. Same thing with Israel, Palestine. It's a dark situation. Like there's a lot of, evil stuff going on, people, terrorist attacks, people killing civilians. Like, it's just all, and then both sides are incredibly emotional because they both feel like they're fighting for their life or their country. And it's like, it's really dark, you know? And it's like, I pray for both sides to find peace and not to, you know, get killed in a terrorist attack or civilian attack. But it's like, I don't want to talk about this stuff all the time. It's not fun. And it's especially less fun to talk about when you know that every time you talk about it, you might be facing 20 smear articles where people will spend the rest of their lives trying to ruin your career and strong arm your sponsors. And I know this has been happening to me. I'm going to say this one more time, and then I'll try to read a few comments. I'm going to say this now, not to be cocky, but I'm writing my own history. I'm not allowing people to rewrite my history. I'm not allowing people to smear me and make me look crazy. You know, I've accomplished certain things. The first time the media smeared me, they published, because they have analytics. They said they were trying to be more transparent. And they said, we want to show you who the top 5 news articles are and the top 10 news pages. And I started popping up. Not top 10 news pages. I'm sorry, top 10 Facebook pages. Facebook, especially at the time, I think it's still there, but like before it even died down a little bit, it's the biggest social media network in human history. Over 1 billion people on it. The biggest social media in human history. It's the biggest place in human history for news. There's never been anything bigger than that that's reached more people. And I was coming up, my page, in the top 10, not of right wing, not of left wing, not of animal pages, not of just politics, everyone. I kept coming up. There's anomaly. There's anomaly. And then they did one of who talked about the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, and I came up 3rd. And I beat 99.9999% of media. And it was like me, Fox News, New York Times. And then they started writing articles about me. They wrote one article and called me an anti-vaxxer conspiracy theorist, even though I shared a CNN link. And then Chelsea Clinton tweets the article and says, you know, Tucker Carlson's a bad white guy. And then this anomaly guy is a conspiracy theorist. And Chelsea Clinton tweeted the article the day that I came 3rd. I'm not smaller than, and it's not a competition because I don't seek this stuff, but it's like the impact I've had is way bigger than people even realize, because it's not just left-wing media that's smearing me like that. It's also right-wing media trying to cover up how big I am. I'm bigger than Michael Knowles. I'm bigger than Andrew Clave, and I have a bigger reach than all of these people. Everybody that Blaze TV hires, I could shit on all of them. It's like I'm tired of pretending like I'm not just so they can hire people that cover this shit up. Like, I've gotten 1 billion views. I have millions of followers. I post something on Instagram, get 1,000 comments and 10,000 likes in an hour. And these people they hire can't even get 10, 20 comments. It's all astroturfed. It's all fake. They got budgets behind them. They're getting paid. They have studios, and they still can't fuck with me. You know, I'm one of the best in this game. I'm one of the realest in this game, and I'm one of the biggest in this game. And all they do is try to scam advertisers and trick people into thinking that they're more important than they are, so they could hire a bunch of dummies to sell out the Constitution that are either too stupid to realize that they do it or too fake to care. And, you know, I'm writing my history. That's who I am. I've accomplished things that they could never accomplish, and I've done it ethically and morally without selling out, without a marketing budget, and without any media help. And people think I'm one of the biggest pages on one of the biggest social networks in human history on a top 10 post with Dan Bongino, who gets multi-million-dollar deals, and nobody wants to hire me because... Why? Because, oh, I'm just not good enough and I'm jealous? No, it's because I talk about the truth about this topic, and I know for a fact, I'm not assuming, I'm not being a drama. I know this is why they blacklisted me, because I love America, because I love the Constitution, and because I love my country and I love God more than I like money, fame, power, and selling out my own people for a paycheck, which is what all of these people are doing. And they all know they're doing it, or they're actively just, they don't care about America more than they care about other stuff, which is, you know, weird when you're pretending to care about America. Like, how do you think I feel when I don't hate any of these people directly? A lot of these people I like, they know they're doing this. I know they're doing this, and they just keep doing it. They know they're selling out the First Amendment. They know they're lying. They know they're covering up for it, and they just keep shamelessly doing it. And that's why, you know, obviously, like, the press talks shit about me, but a lot of these people don't, because they know that I'm right. They know that I'm the truth, and they know that they don't really have shit for me. So it's like, it's better to just keep grifting, because who knows how long that paycheck's going to be there, because the truth ages well, not sellouts and frauds, you know? So when you're doing all that stuff, instead of just leaning into the truth, sometimes they just try to smear everybody else to make everyone else look crazy. So they just keep getting it. And, you know, Candace said she was tired of it. She's like, I'm tired of pretending like this isn't happening. I've been tired of it since 2019. But guess what? I'm not a victim and I don't need anybody. So what happened after 2019? After all of these networks blacklisted me, after they smeared me, after they told everyone not to work with me, what happened in 2020? I became one of the biggest COVID journalists in modern history, and I got hundreds of millions of views and millions of shares, and and I got even bigger. So it's like every time they try to do that to me, it's like if my work is better than all the people you're hiring, even though like people are going to see it, and it continues to happen. It's like during COVID, I was averaging like 5 million views a week, 4 million views a week. And it's not artificial AstroTurf views that they're buying. You look at something that has 1 million views and it has like 20 shares. It's like they're paying for it or it's fake. I'm getting, one of my videos had 1 million views and 100,000 shares. That means 1 out of every 10 people who watched it shared it. That's like incredible engagement. So it's like, I don't give a crap about these people. And this year I'm even more in the zone where it's like, I'll take a financial loss. I don't even care about that anymore. Last year, it's like, oh, I don't want my business to do this and that. This year, it's in God's hands. I don't care anymore. I'm not living in a rat race and I'm not competing on this weird world. It's like, I'll take some financial L's to make some worldly gains, to get jacked, to go to the gym more, to enjoy my life more, to see my family, take vacation, whatever I got to do. It's like, I'll do that. And because I'm not, whatever these people are doing, I don't want that. It's like, I don't want run for office. I don't want to. I don't want to be around these people. Do this. I don't want to. I don't want that. Like whatever they're doing, I don't seek that because it's not real. It's all fake. It's all. So with Candace, it's like, I don't know if she got fired. I don't know if she got kicked out. She's worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Like Joe Rogan got a $250 million plus contract with Spotify. People were offering Tucker Carlson $100 million. Candace is in that ballpark. I don't know what she's worth as far as like her analytics, because I don't really know, but just based off of the competition and looking at Crowder's contract and stuff, Candace is at least $100 million girl. So she doesn't really need Daily Wire. And from my point of view, I want to say this. I've been to Daily Wire because I was on Candace's show. Great people there, great staff, great people filming. Like I have nothing bad to say about the organization. But I've known for a while that's who they were and that's really what they care about. And it's all kind of a front in my view. So, everybody sees that now. Who knows what's going to happen? I mean, I wish it the best because I know there's a lot of good people there and they do a lot of good work, but that's what it's always been. This isn't a new thing that they did. They've always been this way. It's just they hired Candace not knowing she was going to do this. If they would have known Candace was going to say what she said over the last 2 weeks, they never would have hired her, and everyone knows that. Matt Walsh, Michael Knowles, like they know that. So they don't do it. And if any of them did it, Brett Cooper seems like a lovely lady. Like if she ever comes to the conclusion that America should cut foreign aid to Israel and cut all foreign aid and like the speech laws don't make sense, it's not going to be around in that ecosystem very long. It's just the truth. So she's going to probably make a lot of money elsewhere. And, she's definitely worth it. And the media smears don't work as well. If they did, Joe Rogan wouldn't have got that contract. Tucker Carlson wouldn't get that contract. Tucker Carlson is saying a lot of the same stuff now because once you break free of Fox News, now it's like I could say a little bit more. He's probably known that. How could you not know it if you're in politics for 30 years? Everybody knows it. And it's not, I just want to be clear for those who even care about the accuracy of what I'm saying. It's nothing hateful. It's just like if you're an American citizen and you're a Christian, or you're not, but I'm just going to use this as an example. Tucker Carlson, Candace, because they say they're Christians, right? A Christian American who likes the Constitution and is conservative, you can't pass speech laws for one race, one country, one religion, and then call someone anti-Semitic for realizing it. It doesn't make any sense. Like, you can't give hundreds of billions of dollars to a foreign country and then call it hate speech when someone says they don't want to do it in America. You can't keep smearing people who like America more than a foreign country. It's not working anymore. It's backfiring tremendously as far as public perception. And people are, more and more just like tired of it. Like this is what I figured out then. It's like I have two roads. Either I completely quit, which I don't want to do, or I become a liar, which I'll never do. Or I do my own thing and just put up with this shit and it becomes a lot less fun because, that's what you got to deal with. But it's like, I'm not a quitter and I'm not a liar. So I just keep doing it. But it's like, that's why, none of this. Like, you think I just talk about Turning Point because I'm mad at them or something? Like, I'm not a jealous person. When an athlete or someone rich or successful or bigger than me and more powerful says something real, I elevate them. I promote them. I don't say I want it to be me. I'm like, good. We need more people saying that. I want that. I'm not attacking these organizations or questioning these organizations because I need something. It's because I know what they're really doing. And what they're really doing has nothing to do with America first, which is why we always get screwed. It's not random. It's not random that the pandemic, trillions of dollars and Trump just, that's not what it is. That's what everyone thinks it is. And that's why it keeps happening. Once people realize what's happening and why, and just peacefully, honestly, and calmly speak about it, it's not possible to do anymore. So, that's like, when you're her, she's probably, I don't know her, and her personal stuff is her personal stuff, but she said for years, people have been just like talking about me, smearing me. And it's like, she knew if she ever came out and said what she said, that this was going to happen. But at a certain point, you have two options. It's like, either you let these people make your life miserable, or you just come out and say something. And I've had a similar experience to that. I mean, I don't want to get fully into it because I don't even want to give it attention, but I've had people, just like they're trying to tie her to this and that, they've tried to tie me to people in prison. They've tried to tie me to people who've had $500,000 seized from their bank account. So what message do you think they're sending to me when they say, you're just like this person, and you're bad, and you're racist, and you're anti-Semitic, and you're a nationalist, or whatever, like all these terms and words that they just throw out there to try to smear you? Like, I don't even know who these people are. I don't even care. And it's like, there's this whole concerted effort to just like work against me and what I'm doing in this egregious, like slimy, completely, untrue way. And it's like, what do you do? I guess like, I just ignore it now. Cause what I've realized is like, sometimes like even with like the Don Lemon stuff, everyone's like, Don Lemon, I just ignore it. I don't feel like giving Don Lemon attention. It's like, I just act like he doesn't exist in my world. Cause who cares about Don Lemon? Like, that's my new strategy, is not to combat all this stuff, just to ignore it. But just for those watching the show, it's been happening to me for years. I just choose to ignore it because I think I give it less power that way. But, it's real. And until Republicans figure this out, nothing's going to change. It's just going to be the same loops. And I'm going to repeat this again, just so it doesn't get misconstrued. It's not the country. It's not the groups. It's not hating. It's actions, what people are doing. And the fact that as a Republican, they try to ruin your career if you don't prioritize one group, one race, one religion, and one country over everything else. It doesn't make sense. It's not fair. It's not helpful. It's not constitutional. And it's just ridiculous. So, it's where I'm at. It's where I've been at for 5 years. Nothing shocks me. Like, every time like something crazy happens, people are like, are you shocked by that? No. Can you believe that she's out at Daily Wire? Yes. Can you believe that was said? I've known this for 5 years now. Some people have known it for a while, but it's like, it happened to me. I just didn't make a huge scene about it because I don't care. And look what happened. I mean, I could have made a bigger scene in 2019 and like really made a show out of it. But instead, I focused on what I do great, and I ran circles around all these people during COVID. It's like, name a Republican influencer that got as many views as I did during COVID. I didn't think about what they thought of me. I just thought about what I was doing. I want to focus on my career, myself. I'm not really interested in their opinions or their false smears. It's like, but this is where it becomes a problem. It's like, if you start getting banned and censored and blacklisted, like at a certain point, it's like, how far are people going to go? Are they going to just let you do your own thing? Or are they going to start just like when the fact checkers fact check you? That's when it really starts to annoy me. Not their opinion, but like when it starts to crack down on business and, my following. So that's my full perspective. I think Candace will be really successful somewhere else. I'm not surprised she's out. I don't know if she got fired or she quit or what it was. And I find it very interesting that the ADL smeared her yesterday and within 24 hours, they cut ties with her. And to me, that just shows like this whole fake, like, oh, they're left wing and we're totally right wing. It's like, you do 9 out of 10 of the same exact things. You tell people to report to them sometimes in libs of TikTok. Go report to I thought you didn't like them. Oh, I don't. They're left wing. Then why are you telling people to go report to them? because just Wikipedia who they are. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying everyone's doing it. It's just like, it's so tiresome. It's just like, I don't even want to argue with people anymore, because it's like the runarounds, the hysteria, the straw mans, the false arguments, the false accusations, the taking tweets out of context. It's just like never ending, It's the same reason I don't feel like bickering with left-wingers all the time. What am I going to sit and argue with someone wearing a medical mask in front of their eyes about like health? It's like, no, I'd rather just go to the gym. I'd rather just like play basketball, than like, it's like, let me tell you about health. How are you going to tell me about health with a medical mask over your eyes and your nose and you're not even healthy? It's like, that's why I don't even engage in like conversations with these people anymore, because it's just like an energy suck. It's like I have to like dumb myself down to even figure out what they're talking about, to even like, counter it. So I'm going to read a few comments, and then I'm going to try to keep this shorter than long. Let me read some. Maybe Candace will do the right thing and start her own thing. Possibly. Two wings of the same bird. Absolutely. Someone said, stay in God's word. I hear you. That's how I found out about you, is Facebook. Thank you, Kelsey. Start the course with a prayer. Appreciate y'all. Maybe we could start our own Christian conservative media company alliance. Yeah, I don't know if I want to do all that, but I mean, I do think that people are doing that. Like Tucker is doing that. Patrick Bet-David is claiming to do that, but I don't know that he's even going to really do that much, but we'll see. Yeah, I got to figure out what I want to do, but I don't want to like run a media company, but if I have to in order to like stay afloat, then that's when I would have to. Like, I'm not like, I want to own 40. Like, I just want to say the truth, do well, have people see it and keep it moving. But if I can't do that at a certain point, because it's not sustainable, then I have to kind of expand businesses. But if that happens, just watch how crazy people go. Hannah Manana with a $19 super chat. She said, hey, Anomaly, I'm really fond of Candace, and hearing this news is really emotional. Watching a recent podcast, I can totally see how you can relate to what's been going on through those smear campaigns. Thank you, Hannah. This happened to me in 2019. And the frustrating part, I don't mean to be repetitive, but I'm trying to explain it to my audience, and like nobody was believing me. It's like, I'm not a liar. Like, if you watched me to this point, like, why do you think I would just make this up? Do you think I'm that desperate for like a job or something? Like, I was just trying to explain that this was happening to me, and people were like, oh, you're just jealous. I'm like, no, I know what they're doing. And with Candace, they never would have hired her if she did that. Jordan Peterson, if he ever flips the script on that, he's out too, but he's just like, dude seems like he never came back from his little pill binge. He seems like a totally like mindless, like he's so smart, but he just seems like so empty now. Like Jordan Peterson is a genius, but he's like an empty vessel now. I can't explain it, but like, I can't even watch Peterson anymore. I love his old clips, but he just creeps me out now, but God bless Peterson too. It's just like any of these people would have been out if they said half of what Candace said. And at a certain point, I do want to say this too. It's very like, they don't want people to realize what's going on and just stand up for themselves, because I want to say this, like, I don't think every Christian or Muslim or Jewish person or atheist, like, I'm not making generalizations. Like, everyone thinks this way or everything. There's some shitty churches out there. There's a lot of shitty Christians, and I'm not claiming that there's not. I'm not trying to say like my religion is this and you're terrible. Like, that's not what I'm saying. But I will be honest about this. When I listen to that, and I've seen other Israelis and other Jewish people that I know be like, I don't agree with that, which I know is true. It's like, I don't think every Jewish person, every Israeli, every person who studies Judaism or Kabbalah or anything believes this. I don't think that. But when I listened to that rabbi and she said, can you define anti-Semitism? And he said it started with Jesus like 2,000 years ago. To me, I was like, I don't want to put words in his mouth, God bless the guy, but it sounded to me like it was like, as soon as Jesus rejected, the modern teachings and created Christianity, that's what, like, it was almost like he didn't say it completely, but what I got from it was like, Jesus was the original anti-Semite, like that's when it started with him. Because what did Jesus do? He rejected probably Judaism at the time, or whatever their teachings were, the Pharisees, whatever people want to say. And it's similar, like when people in the comments say, well, Jesus was Jewish. Yeah, George Washington was British. Does that mean that you go under Britain rule? Do you want British speech laws because George Washington was British? He was British, but what made him American was what he did in America. Do you want to give up your First Amendment to the King of Britain right now just because George Washington was British? That's what people sound like to me when they say Jesus was Jewish. I'm not saying he wasn't, and I'm not saying everybody's bad. I'm just saying like what made Jesus Christian was his rejection of what was being taught at the time. So this idea that you should want to pass speech laws and there's a religious leader standing in front of you and say anti-Semitism started when Jesus came, like what part don't you get? Not everybody. I'm not saying everybody, but a lot of people consider Jesus the original anti-Semite because he rejected what they were doing and what they were teaching. And he taught something different. And for many, most people don't care about history and they don't have like this like deep-seated thought about everything. And not everybody of this religion or race does it, but you have to understand that there absolutely are people that have like 2,000 years of built up hatred and 2,000 years of built up revenge. And I'm not saying it's everybody, but it's like, it does exist out there where it's like, you're not thinking about these things that clearly or that deeply, but some people they're like, you know, they've been mad since that time where it's like, oh, how dare him, you know, as one of us come out and try to give these people these teachings. Like, you know, they don't like that. Like, it's not like a time that they consider amazing. It's when certain people are like, yeah, that's when anti-Semitism was created because Jesus was doing this and his disciples were doing this. And it's like, what, you know, so what are Christians supposed to do? Be like, okay, yeah, so pass speech laws in America that only help you, that say that certain Bible verses are hate speech. Like that's what they're doing. That's what's going on in Congress. And it's Christians and Catholics mostly doing it. And I'm not saying that to like pander. It's true. DeSantis is a Catholic. Trump is a Christian, or so he says. You know, like Glenn Youngkin, I don't think he's Jewish. He's Catholic. So it's not like I'm blaming a group because it's Christians and Catholics pushing these speech laws against their own religious text for people that considered that hate to be born the day that Jesus came out and his disciples said this. Like, how much more obvious could it possibly get? And then all of these rules that they're passing through legislation are rules that Ben Shapiro tweets on his Twitter. And then when someone crosses the line of those hate speech rules because their religion or their ideology, you know, rejects it, then they kick you out. Like, could it possibly be more obvious? And to be honest, if people can't figure it out at this point, you're too dumb. Like maybe, you know, maybe other people are right that you are dumb. It's like, I don't consider myself a victim. It's going to be your own religion that sells you out faster than someone else. It's going to be your own political party that cancels you before the left. You know, the left sucks and their cities are garbage now, but you know, it's like this game of like Trump, MAGA, Republicans. It's just as dumb as liberalism. That's why they don't mind when you do it. It's like a big, oh, you know, oh, we're going to beat the left. Like that's all, it's all stupid. So that's why it's like, yeah, you're fighting the left. Like, yeah, look at the trans can, the can of the trans can, you know, it's like, yeah, sure. Bud Light, boycott Bud Light. But it's like, it's all like circusry left and right paradigm where it's not going anywhere. And also the way they talk about it, like I could talk about it and get like a gay person to be like, all right, he's not being hateful. It's true. I could talk about it and get somebody that's left wing to be like, okay, Anomaly's not a liar. The reason they don't like Charlie Kirk and Ben Shapiro is the same reason I don't like Charlie Kirk and Ben Shapiro. They're annoying people. You know what I'm saying? Charlie Kirk, when I listened to him at the RNC, he was my least favorite speaker. I didn't go there. I just watched it on TV, and he's the worst speaker. Ben Shapiro is kind of annoying. You know, it's like, that's why left wingers can't get along with right wingers. If I watched Ben Shapiro and Charlie Kirk all the time too, I'd probably be a communist. You know what I'm saying? They'd probably convince me that the Communist Manifesto was right. It's not. I think it's horrific text. I'm just saying, like, watching them enough, it makes you want to be liberal. And I don't think that's a coincidence. It's like, just do the left right thing, yell at the blue haired girl, send Kyle Rittenhouse to Memphis. It's like, dude, Kyle Rittenhouse, listen, I don't consider him a bad person, but it's like, he's so young. Why is he being exploited by TPUSA? Like, the kid's not even 24 yet, and they're putting him in the hood. Like, I'm not saying all of Memphis is the hood, but it's I believe a majority black city that's incredibly dangerous. It's like, here, let's bring this 20-something-year-old kid to a bunch of black people who hate him. And it's like, what Kyle Rittenhouse, I'm not saying he's a bad guy, but it's like, dude, let the kid grow up real quick. Like Memphis, no offense, God bless Memphis, they don't even give a shit about their own city, let alone Kyle Rittenhouse. Like, Look at the crime rate of that city. So it's like, they're not going to listen to him. Why bring them there? I don't like, that's the whole thing though. It's like, look at the fight and the guy, you know, the black and the white and the red and the blue and like it's, and then everyone's like, oh my God, it's crazy. It's like, it is crazy, but it's, you know, why would they send him to Memphis? Because it's a clip. They love viral clips that don't do anything, you know? It's just as separate. It's just like when the left does all this race stuff, they're separating people. It's divide and conquer. The right does it too in sneaky ways. I'm not telling you to like go hug Dylan Mulvaney and say that you want to go on a date or anything. I'm just saying like the way they do it. It's not it's like not what they're saying exactly, but the way they're doing it is so disingenuous that they're just making everybody hate them in a way that's like not even helpful to like raise the conversation. And here's a good example of like uniting. Listen, I'm not saying Candace is infallible or fallible or whatever the right wording would be, but it's like Black America over the last month has liked Candace Owens more than they've ever liked her. Liberals have liked Candace Owens more than they've ever liked her. And then she gets fired by the Daily Wire. You know, you could say this is a coincidence or it just so happened, but it's like Candace, I'm not saying she wasn't popular, but the left did not like Candace Owens. They hated Candace Owens. You know, Black America, not everybody, because she was very popular in Black America, but if there was a chart of how popular Candace was in Black America, she was more popular yesterday than she's ever been. And she was more well-loved among liberals, getting them to understand fair conservative viewpoints than ever before. And then she gets fired. It's like they don't, just like the left doesn't want everyone to come together, neither does the right. It's like they want the divide and conquer. They just tell you that's why I talk about Republicans, because it's almost more diabolical when they're pretending to be against socialism, but they're doing it. They're pretending to be against speech laws, but they do it. They're almost crazier than the left and more evil than the left, because the left's like, we don't believe in free speech. And the right's like, we do. No, we don't. It's almost crazier than what the left does. The left is your obvious opposition because they don't agree with anything you agree. The right is like the controlled opposition where they're pretending to share all these values, but they don't. And the second you start bringing people together, they throw you to the curb. Will with the super chat said, anomaly, you're friggin' awesome. I love when you expose the fake right and their hero, lifelong Democrat Donald Trump. Donald Trump is a Christian, or so he says. I don't like to question people's religion, but when they asked him if he's ever asked for forgiveness from God, his answer is like really bizarre. But, you know, I'm not the judge. Only God can judge who is and who isn't. So I'm not going to sit and judge. I just, you know, I don't, that's not my role. I hear you. Someone said, so Candace is too appealing to the left and right at this moment. Well, these things are popular, but they have to astroturf them and pretend like they're not popular. Like when you start sending hundreds of billions of dollars to foreign countries, people start realizing it and feeling like duped. Like, Black people, I'm not saying all, but like Black America feels duped. Liberals feel duped. Conservatives feel duped. Like liberals don't want to send money to Israel. Conservatives don't want to send money to Ukraine. It's not that everyone agrees on everything, but you start to get to this point where you're like, you understand it's like we're all getting scammed. I still don't agree with you, but at least we can agree on this. But then there's certain characters I think that are there to just like divide again and be like, no. Like, because coming together on this topic is a huge, like, if people figure this stuff out, then it's like the jig is up and, you know, it's a multi-$100 billion business. You know, I'll say this too. Matt Walsh, he does a lot of good work, right? He does a lot of good work, but he knows that he can't talk about certain things. Let me give you an example. He constantly rails against reparations, right? Matt Walsh hates reparations for Black people, right? Another group got reparations recently from Kathy Hochul, hundreds of millions of dollars. They got war reparations for a tragedy that Americans actually helped in. They were not the villain in that story. They were the saviors of that story, and they came to the rescue. Yet American taxpayers still paid hundreds of millions of dollars in reparations to a certain group of people for a certain tragedy that you can't ever even like say that they're getting reparations for, because then the media will say that you're a bad person, even though you're not, and you're not denying it. You're just speaking about it. So Matt Walsh is a psyop also. He's just there to rabble rouse Oh, well, black people don't deserve reparations. But another group just got reparations. Matt Walsh, do you want to talk about it? No, because he wants to keep his job at Daily Wire. So he'll shut his stupid mouth and just keep dividing and conquering. He's a sellout. He's a scammer. Let me tell you why NASA is so true and the moon landing. Yeah, sure, Matt. You talk about reparations more than anybody, but you won't talk about those ones. We all know why. It's what it is. Someone said, I think they'll just go with the flow to keep and respect our audience. So that means their whole opinion has shifted. I've been in this since 2019. It took me 1 to 2 years to figure this out. Some of these people have been in Republican media for 15 years, and they've written, Matt Walsh used to write articles about this stuff, not that exact topic, but other topics similar 8 years ago. Like, everyone thinks Trump's so dumb, Matt Walsh just doesn't know. They know. They don't care. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just is what it is. Like, Trump doesn't know about big pharma. That's what you tell yourself to justify why he did what he did, because you don't want to say he sold out. Oh, Matt Walsh might be doing it for this reason. Then why did he write articles about it 9 or 10 years ago? He knows. He just doesn't want to go there. It's money. It's power. It's like, it's also peace of mind. Like, you know, people aren't trying to fight all the time. So if you know a certain topic's going to bring bad vibes, you're just like, I don't want to post about it. I don't even like talking about this stuff because it's like, I know, you know, I interview Vivek and they try to ruin my life. I do that. Like, everything I do now, they're just going to try to smear me because I'm an honest person. But the thing is, the more they abuse that power, the less people believe it, and the more it turns into promotion. So it's like, you know, it's not ideal, but it's like, okay, you know, like at this point, people aren't going to believe it. Like, so it is what it is. It's just like annoying. Let me see. Here's an interesting comment. Someone said the Zionists do not rule the world. If they did, the media and the UN worldwide would love them. Well, I never said that they rule the world. I don't think that that's true. I don't think Zionists rule the world. I've never said those exact words. I said that in Republican media, you have to be Zionist first. I don't think Zionists completely control Saudi Arabia. Obviously, the UN, it seems like it's more liberal and commie than it is like Zionist. So I don't think they rule the world, but I think that it's kind of like the Democratic Party is mostly pro-Zionist, but a lot of them aren't. You know, everything's not so black and white. It's just like, just because they're not running everything all the time, it doesn't mean they don't have heavy influence in American politics, you know? And yeah, no, I think the UN and the Zionists, like that was a great point. Honestly, I'm glad you brought it up because it reminds me of like the college campuses. It's like Bolshevik and communist. Like I would personally consider the UN communist and Bolshevik. They might not see themselves that way, but I see them that way. So is what it is. It's like communist and Zionists don't always get along. You know, like sometimes Zionist donors will fund college universities and it'll be very liberal. But the second that the liberals and the Bolsheviks and the communists turn against Zionism, then obviously these people will be like, no, that's too far. So it's like, you know, I'm not, it would be like me saying that like Ted Wheeler gets along with everybody in Portland. It's just not true. I don't see everything as black and white. That's why I'm not saying like, you don't hear me saying that country is so bad or these people are so bad. I don't believe that. You can't convince me that any country is like bad. It's just, you know, I mean, obviously like some countries are nicer to live in and maybe like people are nicer to you, but I don't look at Israel and Palestine like good, bad, 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 bad. You know, I just look at it like, okay, what's the truth about it? When did this conflict start? Who was there first? Who says they were there first? How did this happen? Who's doing what? You know, like I try to just be accurate with it. I don't just like blame people or say, oh, they're taking over everything. It's like, it's not true. But, you know, it's like if in Republican media, I'm just giving an example. If you like own 9 out of 10 things, like it doesn't mean everything, but it's like enough to make an impact. Thank you for the super chat. I didn't see it. Sorry. I'll try to scroll up and see it, but I might miss it. So if you did it like before I looked at the comments, there's probably an hour of it. Why am I ignoring your super chat? I didn't see it, dude. I literally just tried to scroll up and look at it. I'm my own producer, so I don't catch everything. And if you did it in the first hour, I try to explain to people. I mean, obviously, I appreciate if you give me a super chat when I'm not looking, but sometimes I miss it. But if you do it like at the very beginning, I just literally didn't see it. But I don't think you've done it in the last 20, 30 minutes. If you did, I apologize for missing it. If you did do it, then I just completely, you can't super chat 20 minutes in when I'm not looking at the comments for an hour. And then like ask why I didn't do it. I can't even see all the old ones. Someone said my girlfriend turned out not to love me. Well, God bless you. Someone said Zionism is a specific thing, which is why Jewish people can be non-Zionist. Yeah, I mean, I could talk about this a lot because I've paid attention, but yeah, there are a lot of Jewish people that are not Zionist, like especially liberals. Like a lot of liberal Jewish people are not Zionist, but Zionists are passing speech laws to say that anti-Zionism is anti-Semitism because, Israel is incredibly important to Zionists. I mean, it's the whole thing. So yeah, it's a complex issue, and some people could say that non-Zionist Jewish people are self-hating and they hate themselves. It's a very tricky, complex issue, but I just personally don't believe in speech laws and anti-protest laws to fix it. That's my point. I don't think calling left-wing Jews anti-Semitic is going to fix the anti-Zionist problem. I don't see that as like a sustainable way to do it. In fact, I think it's backfiring like astronomically. Honestly, I feel like if they never passed those speech laws and started pushing the anti-boycott laws, I think like millions of people never would have even known what was going on because it's not that obvious. Like it makes it obvious when that type of stuff happens. It's like if Big Pharma is doing something sneaky and I don't realize, but then it's like if they're like locking the whole world down, then it's like, or the country down, it's like, all right, well now I see it. I think the lockdown woke up so many people to the pharmaceutical industry because it was like unavoidable. I'm not saying it's to that extent, but when you infringe on people's First Amendment and then lie and say that they hate you and like, oh, you just don't want me to exist. It's like, how about you not infringe on the First Amendment and then nobody's, I mean, some people are saying that, but like a lot of people think America shouldn't exist. What are we going to do? There's probably millions of people in America that think that America shouldn't exist. Should we pass a law? Don't say America shouldn't exist. There's people that want to give it all back to the natives and they wouldn't care what they did to us. What do we do? How come there's no speech law to stop people in America? Because, I mean, what does that lead you to believe? That you have more laws for a foreign country than you do for the United States of America. In America, you could say America shouldn't exist. I'm saying it right now, not even thinking twice about it. But if I were to say that about another country, game over. It's like, but I don't even think that. I don't think America shouldn't exist, and I'm not telling Israel it can't exist. So, but like, America has more laws for Israel than it does its own country when it comes to speech censorship. Like, what more do people need to know? It's just like, but then in order to like stop people from talking about it, you just like censor people more. It's not working. It's just not working. We're still in America, right? I mean, yeah, we're still in America. It's just this country is like a shell of what it once was. And a lot of the reasons it's a shell of what it once was is for a lot of reasons, but like not being able to speak is definitely a problem. Everybody feels it now, though. I think I see the shift happening where people are tired of suppressing themselves. And it's not just right wing and it's not just Palestine and Israel. I feel like people are just like they're getting yelled at for left wing and right wing and Palestine. And I think everybody's like tired of suppressing who they really are for social media, because it's just like, you don't want to get yelled at by a person you haven't talked to in 5 years. Like they're like, oh, I hate you because you posted that. And you're like, okay, nice to hear from you too. Let me see. Well, if the federal government keeps borrowing money at this rate, what's in this new bill? I didn't read it yet. I'll probably do a video tomorrow about the new bill, but like, what is in this new bill? A $1.2 billion. Did you guys see Ronna? I'm going to do this tomorrow, so I don't want to ruin it. Ronna Romney McDaniel signed to NBC News. Like this is not a bug of the Republican Party. It's a feature of the Republican Party. You understand? Like, people will be like, oh, it's just Ronna McDaniel and the rhinos, but Trump and these people are better. It's like, not really. Not really. Like, Trump is just better at talking and tricking you than Ronna Romney McDaniel. He's not really that different. That's why he endorsed her 2 or 3 different times. Like, there was a better person to endorse. Even Ron DeSantis endorsed the other person. Trump didn't. He endorsed Ronna Romney McDaniel, dude. It's like, people don't get it. They're like, oh, she went to NBC News. Of course she did. They're all, it's like DC is 95% liberal. They're all faking. It's all like this stupid game. Here's what I would say, though. This is why self-awareness is so important for everyone. If you only figure this stuff out at the tail end of it, and I'm not saying people knew the Ronna McDaniel thing, but it's like, if like some people will be like, I believe this person, and then I just figured this out. Everybody figures certain things at their own time, but like, none of this stuff is shocking to me because I just have like discernment. I'm not batting like 100% or anything, but like, I never believed Ben Shapiro. I never believed him. Dave Rubin, I liked him for a couple years. I didn't dislike him or anything, but it's like, I figured this stuff out. Like, it's like, people will be like, I can't believe Trump hired this person. You're like, he does that all the time. So, I just wish people paid attention and a little bit more, but I think Republicans are really kind. And they just like people who support Trump or like them. So if you just say like Trump, Republicans, then they're like, come on, we got one of our own. Like, they love a good like minority like that says Trump talking points. And I'm not saying it's not a competition, but it's like, if I say like build a wall, people are like, cool. But if you can get like a black person to be like, build a wall, they'll be like, oh my gosh, let's give him his own television show. And then they're like, isn't it? And then they'll be like, isn't it crazy how the left is only doing this to minorities to give them jobs? And it's like, you're doing the same stuff. I'm not saying no one deserves a job. There's hundreds of black conservatives who deserve a job. And I could name at least 10 that I really enjoy, but it's like, you see, it's like everybody loves like someone to just say what they say in a different way that makes them look not racist or something. I'm not even saying they are racist. It's just like all the same stupid stuff that happened on the left happened on the right. Like, there was someone that I know that was conservative, and he did his own work, but I definitely helped him get a couple million views and definitely helped blow him up a little bit. I'm not taking full credit for his career, but I kind of helped blow him up. He got a job with like Right Side TV or whatever. And then this scumbag just turns around and starts talking shit about me for being right. It's like, I helped this dude get a job. I don't even care because I didn't want the job or anything. It's just like, I blew him up, helped him get a job. And then he's like, anomaly, he hates Trump, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, I'm just like, you gotta be kidding me. It's like, because he's on Right Side Broadcasting. We're like, Trump, gob, 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 gob. And then I'm like, yo, I'm doing like real reporting on the pharmaceutical industry. And he's like, oh, you just hate him. It's like, dude, you only got that job because they just wanted someone stupid enough that could just like yell Trump talking points. And then, after I help you, that's how you thank me. Unbelievable. But it's okay. It's all good. I was just like laughing at it. I was like, silly kids. Let me see. Trump endorses a swamp every time and denied good people. I'm just going to laugh. Like, I'm not going to laugh because it sucks. I'm not like trying to joke her out here or anything, but I am going to laugh when Trump just hires a bunch of scammers, and people are like, I can't believe he hired them. It's like, who did you think he was going to hire? Like, it's like, it's like, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Fool me 10,000 times, you're a Democrat or a Republican. Let me see. I'm going to read a few more and then I'm going to head out. I feel like it's about that time. Appreciate everybody listening. I'll read a few more, but I just want to say real quick, check out DreamRare links or dreamrare.com. I got some hats, some shirts and stuff made in the US, and they're almost all sold out. Not completely, but it's getting closer and closer every day. So check that stuff out. And I got my free email list on there as well. Stayintouchwithme.com. Appreciate everybody. Someone said Candace Owens, Nick Fuentes, Stu Peters, Kanye. What do they all have in common? Well, they're not all the same race. What do they all have in common? They all like to play chess. They all like a good game of cricket. No, I don't know. But did I see Bryson's musical yesterday? I expected to see you in it. It's my bad. I'm gonna apologize to Bryson now. He asked me to like film a piece for it, but I was just like in the process of doing like a million things and I didn't get it done. So he did ask me to like just make a quick news clip for it, and I just didn't get it done in time. So I apologize, but yeah, I'll check it out at some point. Someone say true Israel was Jesus Christ and all who are in him. Yeah, I'm not trying to get into this like deep biblical discussion, but I guess it is kind of relevant, so I could touch on it. Especially boomers, because this is like a really boomery thing. For thousands of years of Christianity, no Christians thought what Christian Zionist boomers thought. I'm just being honest. Like Zionism was created by Theodore Herzl, I believe in the late 1800s, early 1900s. And Zionism was because, before then, there was no Jewish homeland and people were all over the place. And Theodore Herzl came together and said, we need to do what he coined Zionism to create the modern state of Israel. I don't know if it was before or after World War I, but they were figuring out how to do it for decades, since the 1800s, 1900s. And then once they got the justification to do it, I believe it was the Balfour Declaration, and some English king, Lord Balfour, gave the land to Lord Rothschild. So Israel was given to the Rothschilds. That's a fact. That's not anti-Semitism. It's like on Wikipedia. So before that, if you listen to any Christian leader that anybody respects, nobody thought of the way boomer Christian Zionists are thinking. Nobody thought. Not Martin Luther. None of these leaders that you learn about that did Lutheranism or whatever. Like none of them thought that way. None of them. You can read all their quotes, all their books. Like nobody thought these things at all. And then, I don't know because I wasn't around at this time, but a lot of scholars say that the Schofield Bible was funded to the tune of millions of dollars to have a footnote to tell boomer Christian Zionists that the only way that they can get into heaven is they need to support the Rothschild state that was just made. And, if you don't, you're blah, blah, blah. And that's when it all became like a Christian talking point where they're like, if I don't get on my hands and knees and give everything to this country and this group of people, then I'm not bad Christian. And it's like, listen, I'm not telling anyone what to do or who to like, but it doesn't even make any sense if you actually read the Bible. Like it doesn't add up at all. It's like, it's like with circumcision. Like, everyone's like, we got to chop this off to circumcise. It's like, did you not read the passage? It says, it literally says, like, it's almost like they knew you were going to try to chop up your kids' like private areas. And it literally says, circumcision is of the heart, not of the flesh. You don't have to chop off your baby's genitals and mutilate them in order to like love God. In fact, that's like insane. But Christians don't even know that. They're like, chop, chop, chop. They're like, I'm doing what it says. It's like, it literally said, like, the Bible is so good. It like knows you're going to try that. And it says like, don't do that. And you're like, I have to do it because my Bible says so. It's like, I don't know what happened to like Christian boomer Zionists, but they got like brainwashed into like some crazy spell that they just can't get out of. Like, and now instead of figuring out how to like wake up, they just like follow QAnon or something. They're like, X22 report's going to find me Trump. It's like, okay, boomer. And I'm not trying to be a dick, but it's like, it's wild that they can't figure this out. With that being said, I'm not asking people to hate a certain country or hate anybody or hate but it's like, what you think you need to pass a law that says that you can't say that a particular group of people killed Jesus in America? You need to pass a speech law against your own Bible in order to make Jesus love you. Like maybe you guys got tricked. Do you ever think that maybe you're getting tricked in some really weird way? What did you even read the laws? Like a lot of them are just like anti-Christian, in my opinion, or at least like anti-Bible. It's like, and then like you listen to the people pushing it and they're like, yeah, this is when anti-Semitism started, when Jesus was around. It's like, what do you not figure out? And then in Revelation, it says twice. I don't know if I can even quote it because they'll say it's anti-Semitic and they're probably trying to outlaw this version of the Bible. But, Revelation, it says twice. It says, there are those that will say they are, but are not. I will make them of the synagogue of Satan. he's not saying everyone's evil. God was not being anti-Semitic. The Bible's not anti-Semitic. It's just, I mean, a lot of people probably perceive it that way, but it's like, to me, what that message means, I'm no pastor, but it's like, there will be those who think that I only like them. I love everyone. I'm not a racial supremacist. God, even a lot of Christians, they're not into, like, race doesn't matter that much to them because it's more about Christianity than ethnicity, where he's like, I love everyone. So what do you think that verse means? If there's people that are passing laws, not all, I'm not saying everybody, but passing laws that say that their race and their religion matter more, why do you think you need to subvert your own American Constitution and outlaw your own biblical verse for another group of people that hate your Lord and Savior? Like, if you're so stupid that you think that's what you need to do as a Christian, I'm not even mad at other people. Like, I think they're right about you. It's like, if people think you're like sheep or cattle or idiots, you are. It's like I'm not even mad at that mindset, because some people think you're literally cattle, and maybe they're right. I don't know. Because that's like very cattle behavior, is like selling out your own religious text for people that hate your prophet, like your God, is like so dumb. It's like living in a city and passing like a law that says that the cops have to disappear, and then you just get robbed by a local gang, and you're like, why did that happen? It's like, because you outlawed the cops who were protecting you. Like, what? Like, Christian boomer Zionists are like so dumb. I'm sorry, I don't know any other way to say it. It's like, it's such a self-defeating, like, brainwashed mentality, where I'm not asking you to hate them or hurt. It's just like, you're literally like selling yourself out, your country out, your constitution out, your foreign aid out for what? Well, like, it's crazy. And then like the country is just totally like not Christian anymore. It's not conservative anymore. Like, the whole country's falling apart. And I'm not saying it's because of that, but it's like, why is this all happening? Is it the left? It's like, it's the left and the right. It's both. You know what I'm saying? They're both in on it. They're both printing the money. They're both selling out the Constitution. They're both a shell of what a Christian once was. They both have no morality. Like, it's, there's no one to blame but yourself. I have to keep saying this because it's going to get misconstrued, but I'm not asking anyone to blame anyone. Blame yourself. Blame your own party. Stop blaming all the politicians but Trump. Blame Trump too. If you guys can't do that, you deserve to lose. You deserve to fail. You know what I'm saying? And you're going to ruin the country for everybody. So I'm going to have to live here too, but it is what it is. It's like, none of this stuff shocks me. That's why I can't listen to Tim Pool. It's like, oh my gosh, breaking news. I can't believe this. Oh my gosh, Civil War. Don't talk about that. Blah, blah, blah. It's like, he's like an angry Diglett. It's like somebody put Tim Pool back in his Pokeball. He's acting crazy, until he can evolve into a Doug Trio. I think somebody needs to, put the beanie a little tighter, because he's just getting weird. It's like, everything's so shocking. None of this is shocking. None of this is shocking. It's not just the left, it's just what it is. It's like, why is this country Muslim? It's like, because Muslims run the country and Muslims control most of the stuff. Like, why is this country Christian? Like, in like Eastern Europe, it's like, because most of the population is Christian and Christians control the stuff. Why is America this? Because you don't own that much, and all your leaders and all your churches are sold out, and they don't do anything, and they literally like what did you expect? It's like, none of this is even remotely shocking to me anymore. Like, it would be shocking to me if Christians stopped being so dumb. That would be shocking to me. I'd be like, oh, wow, that was surprising. Like, people actually like woke up. Someone's talking about the Gaza thing. Yeah, I don't feel like talking about it right now. It's complex, but yeah, that's a whole nother topic. Someone said they won't even listen to reason, facts, or history. Christian boomer Zionists, they keep conflating the ancient biblical Israel with the modern secular nation state. Yeah, that's all they do. They reference one line in the Bible, ignore the context, ignore all the lines following it, ignore the rest of the Bible, and they're like, that's what I have to do. To me, the best example is like George Washington. I don't hate British people. I like British people. I would love to visit England, but I'm not England. I don't want to be England. I have no problem with them, but I like America. I think the First Amendment's better than whatever the England's doing. I don't give up my First Amendment, and I don't give up my entire way of life because George Washington was British. Like, that's what Christians are doing. They're like, well, he was this race. It's like, and George Washington was British. So take away your First Amendment and let the police arrest you for hate speech. No, we don't want to. Why? Because George Washington was also American. And being American, defying Britain, is what made America. Christians are rightfully losing everything because they're too stupid. It's like, we need to do this because he was this. It's like, did you not read the book? He didn't just get along with everybody. That's not what happened. He rejected the rule of the times and created a system that he considered and Christians consider more moral, more righteous, and more true. So if you can't figure that out, you're not going to exist in this world. Like, you're going to get got. You know what I'm saying? And it's all like, a lot of this stuff too is like, Armenia is about to get attacked by like Azerbaijan or whatever. I don't even know how to say it. Who's funding Azerbaijan, the people that are trying to go after the Armenians again? Israel. Google it. It's right in Associated Press. They're funding the Muslims that are going after the Armenian Christians. And allegedly, so is Turkey and America. But it's like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you want to fund Israel so they could fund Muslims to kill Christians? I don't get it. What are boomer Zionists thinking? I don't understand. It's like, they're not thinking. They're like, oh, look, I'm watching QAnon. Jesus wants me to worship Donald Trump, the vaccine salesman. It's like, what? How? Like, that's like so blasphemous to like just go on this little Humpty Dumpty trail with like Donald Trump and all these idiot false prophets telling you that like, trust the plan. It's so stupid. Like, trust the plan of Christ, not the plan of like some random anonymous ghoul just talking in a weird accent telling you like, it's like, it's like any day now he's going to arrest Chrissy Teigen or something. And you're like, what? Someone said that's exactly what they did in the Armenian genocide. Armenians would understand it better because they definitely care about it. If you ever met an Armenian, they definitely talk about the Armenian genocide. I'm not super familiar with it, but I'm just watching what's going on in real time. It's like, it's starting to happen again. And one of our allies, and probably our country too, is funding the Muslims to go after the Christians. So it's like, that's the level of it's like, they'll be like, oh, Muslims are so bad. And it's like, well, then why are you funding them to kill Christians? But Christians don't even realize it, and conservatives don't even realize it. They don't get it because their head's so far in the ground, like Tim Pool. They're going to turn into a Diglett, and then a Doug Trio eventually, and then they could use some ground attacks. But someone said 100% to everything you've been saying, and this is what's annoying too. But I don't even care anymore now. But it's like, I know everything I said today. PBD podcast is trying his best to never allow this to be said on his podcast. You know what I'm saying? He tried to hire me and we did business for months, but then he ignores multiple texts, me saying we'd have a great conversation on the podcast. In my opinion, it's a big giant cover up. And so is Tim Pool. Although he has people on and just yells at them. TPUSA, Daily Wire, Blaze TV. I think they're all trying to stop any of these things from happening. It's all fake. Once you realize this, you can't listen to these people. It's like watching like Manchester United play Chelsea, and then somebody tells you to go to like, an amateur game down the street where you got a bunch of like dads playing soccer, and they're trying to tell you it's just as good as Manchester United. It's not. It's not just as good as Manchester United. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's like, I'm not being pretentious. It's just, these people are stupid. I can't listen to PBD podcasts. Why would I listen to a bunch of people that are faker and dumber than I am with a bunch of guests that are faker and dumber than I am when I know that they're not allowing me to go on the podcast? They talked to me for 3 months to hire me, but they can't even have me explain all this stuff on their podcast, yet they'll have on Chris Cuomo. my friend from Blaze tells me that they're doing this and that behind the scenes, and then he shelves my podcast when I talk about this. I know that they've been preventing this conversation for 5 years now. And that's why Candace just kind of like, I'm not going to say spiraled because she didn't, but she's just like, I'm tired of this. Like, like I don't want to live a lie. I don't feel like being this person anymore. I'm tired of it, So it's like, I can't, like, people are like, did you see this? Did you see that? No, it's too dumb. It's too fake. Like I need someone that's smarter than me, like not dumber, it's like, or at least more honest. A few people that I think are like more honest, like, and I don't watch their show, but like Glenn Greenwald, I heard Sajid or whatever that guy's name is from Breaking Points. He had a take on Candace that was accurate. Candace's videos the last week have been fire. Everyone else is just like, it's a big snooze fest. I don't know, in the mainstream. All right, a few more and then I'm out. Someone said, liberal women be like, let's all just agree with communists and let's hate on white men, even though they created my existence. There's definitely some of that going on. I mean, you scramble people's brains enough, they'll say and believe anything. Let me see. You sound a bit salty, and all these other online grifting commentators making millions out of doom and gloom industry. I wouldn't say I'm salty. I'm just like, it is what it is. At this point, I'm just annoyed. Here's what really annoys me, okay? It's not the amount of money I'm not making. It's not the attention that I'm not getting. This is what annoys me, okay? When there's some podcasts that weren't around a couple years ago, right? Whatever, it's fine. They pop up or they get big. They keep tricking people. They won't allow me to go on. They blacklist me. They ignore me. They sabotage my plans. Tim Pool, his staff sabotaged my podcast when I actually flew out there to do it. I think they purposely sabotaged me. I'm not just thinking these things. I've interacted with all these people and they've all fucked me over. They've all treated me like shit. They're all fucking trying to blacklist me. Excuse my language. So it's not like, oh, I'm just sitting here and I want to talk. We've had setups to talk and they've like either canceled it, shelved the podcast, fucked me over in my travel plans, like ignored me. I know these things. But anyway, and then they just keep having dishonest people spout dumb talking points and having dumb low IQ conversations. I don't know IQ points. Maybe that means I'm not smart, but like, let's just say we're having like a 130 IQ talking point right now. And I'm not even saying it is, but just like they're having like 60 IQ talking points. It's like half, it's like Trump, like the way they're talking about Trump is so dumb. And then they have a fake liberal on. So it's like that. What annoys me is now they astroturf a bigger audience or they get a huge audience. They trick all these people and all these people they trick then come to me and start complaining. That's what annoys me. It's not the money I'm not getting. It's not the attention. It's just the fact that they're tricking millions of good conservatives and scamming millions of good conservatives and gatekeeping millions of conservatives. And then it starts affecting me because it's just annoying. Because then people that are like, I liked you for years, but now I don't. And it's like, you'll be back in 2 years. You'll be back in a year. I know when Candace came out and said this, people were like, oh yeah, Anomaly said that in 2019. Like, people will come back. People will figure it out. They'll find my content again. They'll go watch old stuff. I'm not really concerned about that. I'm not seeking fame or attention. It's like, what bothers me is the fact that they're using their influence to lie to people and actively not allowing the other side of the discussion to come on. It would be like if I said your only two options were Obama and Romney, and you thought that was the full spectrum of political, social, and religious viewpoints. It's like, oh, there's one side and there's one side. It's Obama and Romney. And I'm getting the full spectrum because I listen to Romney 10 hours a day and I listen to Obama 10 hours a week or whatever. And now I'm getting both sides of the left-right paradigm and I'm educated. No, you're getting brainwashed because neither one of them are like authentic people. And it's not the story. It's the story they've created for you to never get to the real story. That's what annoys me. Not the, I need to go on here because I need a bigger audience. I don't care. I'm not seeking those things anymore. I already have a big audience, but it's like, I'm not like bigger. That's just not who I am. I got to get like, I'm more like, I'd rather just coast at this. Like when I was doing rap only, I wanted to be an underground rapper. That's why they couldn't buy me out. Like, so many people tried to make me sell out or try to make me do things I didn't want to do. The reason I never cared is because I never was like, I want to be the most famous rapper in the world. I wanted to be underground. My heroes were just like selling their own mixtapes and making millions of dollars, not hundreds of millions of dollars or billions of dollars, a couple million or whatever. I was like, I want to be that. I want to just like tour and have a loyal audience. I never seek those things. Still, I don't look at them and like, I want to be as big as these podcasts. I actually don't. It comes at a cost, and I don't want to pay that cost. So it's like, I don't seek the attention. I don't want the attention. I'm just annoyed that they're tricking everybody. And then the tricked people keep coming back here and they don't understand it. Like, when I posted the thing on my Instagram, every comment against the like pro speech law were wrong. They assume that the hate speech laws just said that you can't commit violence or you can't call for the end of a country. That's not what they say. That's what they're telling you they say. But if you read them, it goes far beyond that. If it was just that, to be honest, I wouldn't care, because it's like, yeah, I kind of agree. You know, it's like, I agree that you shouldn't do those two things. I mean, calling to end a country is tough, because if someone says, I want America to end, do you like arrest the person? You know, that's dicey, but violence is violence, and political violence is illegal, as it should be. But like saying like, I don't want Palestine to exist. Should you shut that down? I don't want America to exist. Should you shut that down? You know, but that's not what the laws say. They say that you're not allowed to say Ben Shapiro likes Israel or has loyalty to Israel. They say you're not allowed to, you know, talk about certain Bible interpretations. Like, you're not allowed to criticize Israel more than another democratic nation. When the people in America that are saying democracy, democracy tend to not really believe what they're saying, because they say all the non-democracies are democracies. So it's just like, everyone that disagrees with me, they're not even right. You know, it's like someone said this and I was laughing because I was like, I'm going to say this on my stream. People are going to think I'm an asshole. They're like, he's like, you know, what I believe to be true, or how I interpret it, or like, according to my knowledge. And I'm like, you're wrong though. So like, whatever, like what I was known to think, it's like, but you don't know what, like, listen, stop talking. You know what I'm saying? I understand it's hypocritical of me because I'm talking for 2 hours straight, but it's like, what you're saying is provably wrong. And you're like, but this is what I know to believe, or this is what I think. You think wrong. So shut your mouth and learn. And then next time you open your mouth, you'll be right. It's like, you know, I understand you think that, but you're wrong. It's not my opinion. I have opinions on things. Trump, this and that. What do you think? It's like, but this is not an opinion. I've read the laws. You haven't read the laws. You think it says that, but you're thinking wrong. Your thoughts are fake. So listen and learn and then talk, you know, but like every comment that was like, all right, it's like, you're wrong. It's not, this is not opinionated. It doesn't say that. You think it says that. How ignorant are you going to be? Are you just going to keep going around comment sections saying what you think it says? Are you too stupid to even Google it first? You know, if I'm going to go in a comment section and be like, I think it says with this, Google's your friend. Just Google. I mean, it's not your friend. Google's not your friend at all. But in this case, you could Google or DuckDuckGo or any of these sites. You could search and read them. And then when you type something in Instagram, you could be right. Why would you say something that you're wrong about without even like taking 5 seconds to make sure that you know what you're talking about? Some people are just like so ignorant. It's like, but this is what I've been known to think is true. It's like, well, John, what you've been known to think is true is wrong. So do you want to learn, or do you want to just keep spouting nothingness? And then they'll be like, oh, you're just being hateful. It's like, it's not what it says. Appreciate you guys. God bless you. God bless America. God bless your family. God bless the world. We'll see what happens with this whole saga. I mean, I'm sure where Candace signs and where she goes, I'll probably speak about it again. But I'll be honest, I like, this is not that fun for me. It's like, it's interesting watching this all happening and being able to like explain that it's been happening for a while. But like, I don't want to think about other countries. I don't want to talk about this stuff. Like, there's way more stuff I'd rather do that I find more enjoyable. It's just like impossible to do it when they're trying to X you out of like, you know, all of the communication platforms and like, you know, always doing sideways stuff. It's like kind of like where Candace went. It's like, you know, she has two options there. Either she just does basic stuff that doesn't really matter, or she talks about stuff that does matter and gets like kicked out. It's like everyone reaches that fork in the road. I've essentially been kicked out already. So it's like, it's not like I work for anybody, but, you know, they could make things harder and like they could do annoying stuff. But at the end of the day, it's like, I'm not in that system. So it doesn't bother me. It's like with rap. People always said, did you experience this in the rap industry? People were like, did you go to a Diddy party? It's like, no, I was not that connected. But, they're like, what did you experience in the rap community? I told people I turned down multiple offers. So to be honest, I didn't experience it that much because I never signed the deal. So like with me, I know a lot of good producers. I know a lot of good rappers. Like I know people that are in the hip hop Hall of Fame that like my music that I talk to. I know, like I never played ball. So I don't see it that way. Like, oh, they did this and that to me. It's like, no, they didn't want to sign me because I wouldn't do that. But then I made my own friends and I made real connections with real producers and people that are willing to work with me. And so I never felt oppressed by that because it was just like I did it on my own. But it is really happening at a corporate level. It's just when you're in it, it affects you more than like never being in it. So it is what it is to me at this point. But God, but did rappers hit on you? Like female rappers or male rappers? I dated a female rapper one time that was cute, but male rappers. It's not like a brothel. It's not like everybody's just like a homosexual and like every rapper's just trying to bang you. I've never experienced that. I don't think I've ever experienced a male rapper hitting on me, but I did date a female rapper at one point. Obviously she was hot, but I wasn't in that crowd. It wasn't like, hey, come to this house party. And it's like, to me, I would have like been like, nah, that sounds a little, I was never that desperate, like, it's like, how desperate are you for, like a deal? Like I never cared. I can't put a finger on why, cause I had no money at the time, but I just didn't care. I was like, it's the chip on my shoulder. Like they'd be like, you can't do this or we'll do this. And I'm like, nah, I'll do it. I'll do it on my own. And they're like, you can't. I'm like, maybe, but I believe in myself. So we'll see how it goes. Lil Nas X. Well, when I was young, Nas was Nas. Lil Nas X wasn't even a thing. So hip hop got way gayer like later on. I mean, Macklemore kind of started it and Lil Nas kind of ended it. But like, I remember Lord Jamar, who I had a podcast with 2 years ago. He said that Macklemore is pushing the gay agenda. And I was like, no, he's not. I was like, oh, Lord Jamar is just old. And now it's funny because I talked to Lord Jamar on a podcast and I was like, bro, everybody thought you were crazy, but low key, you were like 10 years ahead of everybody. He was like the Christian pastor saying that they were going to go too far. And it was an amazing time because I actually got to do a podcast with Lord Jamar. And I was laughing hysterically. I was like, bro, I thought you were crazy and hateful and homophobic. And now I realize that you were just totally right. And he's like, for sure. Like, he's like, I knew that. And so, God works in mysterious ways. It connects you with people you want to talk to. If you're not being phony, then you don't have to like deal with these people all the time. But best of luck to Candace. To be honest, best of luck to Daily Wire. I know that they do some good work. It'll be interesting to me just as a viewer of the situation. It'll be interesting to see like what everyone says. Like, what does Matt Walsh say? Does he say nothing? What does Ben Shapiro say? Does he say nothing? Maybe I'll do review videos to what they say because this type of stuff is interesting to me. But I'm curious to just see how it all goes down. Like, does she sign with somebody? Does she start her own network? Does Anomaly get a contract? No, I'm just kidding. I don't know. I just like, I'm not thrilled about what's going on, obviously, but it is like interesting because for so many years, I'm going to say this and then I'm really going to go. For so many years, I saw this going on and I'm like, it's not going to last. Like, maybe it will last forever, but eventually the dam is going to break and people are going to like see through this. And it's kind of the moment that's happening now. Cause like, it was like, Candace and others, they knew, they saw this because most people don't have like big beliefs about these things. So it's not like they're coming from a place of hate. They're just going along with it because everybody's telling them to go along with it. And the second that like you figure it out, things get weird. But like, I was thinking to myself, I'm like, are people just going to not know this about Republican media forever? And it's just going to be like this forever? Or are people going to like wake up? And you see, even with Tucker, I'm not saying you got to believe everything he says, but like Tucker leaving, now he has more leeway to do things he couldn't have done. Candace, like the dam is starting to kind of break and people are kind of starting to break out. And it's a moment that I can't say I'm like wishing for because I don't really care that much, but I always wondered, like, is this going to happen or is everyone just going to get lied to all the time in circles? Kind of like with Trump. Like, is Trump going to crush or is he going to suck again and everyone's going to realize I was right? Or am I going to be wrong? It's like, only time will tell. You know, it's just an interesting time for sure. You know, I pray for peace in the Middle East, in Israel and Palestine. I pray for peace in Russia and Ukraine. I heard something crazy happen in Russia. Like, all of this is sad to me, and all this divisive stuff is nonsense, because I think on a human level, none of us want to deal with this. I don't care if you're Israeli, Palestinian, Russian, Ukrainian, American, Christian, Muslim, Jewish. Like, you know, all the vibes going on right now are just, it's just not really fun. Like, I would love for the world to stop wilding out like this so we could get back to how things were like 20 years ago. But I don't know. Let me know what you think. Appreciate you guys. God bless. And dreamrarelinks.com. Links are in the bio. Hey, what's going on, my friends? Just a few ways to stay in touch and support if you'd like to. The first way is dreamrare.com. We have blue beanies, black beanies, pink hats, other colored hats, freedom versus tyranny shirts, stay blessed long sleeve, God is great long sleeve, and lots of more cool items coming soon. Dreamrare.com. Check out the shop to support. Everything's made in the United States. Handpicked by me. Patreon.com/raretalk for $5 a month. You can help support me, support the show. If you haven't noticed, unlike other channels, I don't work with very many sponsors, sometimes none at all. And part of the way I'm able to do that is with the dreamrare.com